Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Challengers Career 2023 Spring. I'm Atlas, and I'm joined by the gorgeous Chronicler for the inaugural broadcast of Global Challengers, officially.
Finally, officially.
Isn't it incredible?
Yeah. This is a great moment. I'm really happy. I'm here with you, Atlas. We have been away from each other for a fair amount of time.
Yeah.
It's been a little while, and there's no better way for me to return to the 2023 season than doing it with Challengers. For you, you've dabbled every now and then.
Yeah.
But you're
I
about
at least
to get.
watch.
I know, but it's very different when you're actually experiencing the Challengers content. Because if you're tuning in for the first time, if you're like co-streaming, that's not for me. I want an official broadcast. Well, you have that now. And Challengers is really a beautiful, wondrous league with a mind of its own.
It absolutely is. I'm really excited because we get to start off with the previous Challenger champions as well in our first match. And it's the same team, isn't it, Chronicler?
No, it's not. They're all gone. And Atlas and I, we had a meeting recently. I was actually talking about, I think that team, which has been fully promoted to the LCK, will do quite well, unsurprisingly. Atlas did not share my enthusiasm. What I do think we can agree on is that today, unfortunately for Nongshim, well, fortunately for the players, but unfortunately for the organization in terms of Challengers, the complete roster has been revamped because, of course, Dundun, Sylvie, Fiesta, Vidal, and Peter were all called up to the LCK, where they will be playing, which great for fans of that team. But that does mean that the roster right now will be suffering a little bit. The only one, of course, is G, who sticked around from last split. And they're playing against DRX. And DRX, even though they've had their fair share of issues with actually closing out, are a force to be reckoned with in terms of Challengers.
Yeah, and they still have a few of the names that you might recognize.
Oh, yeah.
Satab in that mid lane, who did play a couple of games in the LCK. That's a bit of information that I definitely didn't need to do as much research on because, of course, thankfully, I do have Chronicler here next to me. But Challenger is not something that we've kept a really close eye on. And now, this year, that's all going to change.
It's interesting because I tried to keep an eye on it last year. And even then, it was very hard because the format back then was like a lot of best of ones. Like it was 4 round robins and it ran for like 4 days a week, and half the matches were, it was a lot. And now we have basically the same as the LCK format.
Yeah, exactly right. And there are going to be 2 days that we're not going to be broadcasting here on Twitch just because it's on the same time as the LCK.
Yeah, we can't be yet.
We need to clone ourselves, and that way we can be broadcasting all of the days at all times. But you guys at home will need to clone yourselves as well so you can enjoy the LCK and Challenger at the same time, or maybe just have an extra screen. But listening to 2 broadcasts at the same time does sound difficult.
Well, maybe if we're clones, then, there will be a lot of similarities, a lot of overlap.
Yeah, this is already going off the rails. I love it. We've started off exactly the way that we wanted to for today's broadcast. But no, what I'm saying is there will be a lot of catching up to do on each Monday. Not so much, well, I mean, I guess there's a lot this Monday, but every time that we do come back to a Challenger broadcast, there'll be a couple of days that we just won't have watched because it's impossible. Let's have a look at the overview here of the schedule and things like that. As I was just mentioning moments before, we're on every Monday and Tuesday, and then Thursday and Friday's games are going to be co-streamed. Yeah. I believe not in English, unfortunately, but there might be something we can figure out in the future.
Maybe in the future, yeah. I know I won't be because, again, Thursday and Friday are LCK days, of course. In terms of format, as I already mentioned, last time around it was, I think, a format that's really good for getting a lot of games in, but it was also a little bit confusing, and best of ones have all the downsides, which is why we've seen a lot of leagues shift away from it. And now Challengers is it's just the same as LCK. It's the same concept. It's the same format. Of course, the LCK has been slightly revamped in terms of playoffs, with now adding a little bit of a double elimination bracket. But the classic LCK format that you know and love, double round robin, best of 3s, is now also made its way towards Challenger.
Yep, and also if you're confused about those huge numbers at the bottom of your screen there, just wipe off 3 of the zeros at the end and you have basically
approximately
USD. Right, so, winning $3 grand for getting MVP and all that sort of stuff, definitely fantastic. And the winning team's going to take away 35 grand, which certainly is not bad at all. Same teams that you're used to seeing in the LCK. Of course, D+ Kia used to be Damwon Kia. We're probably going to say Damwon quite a few times. in our last match, especially, but over the beginning of the season, it's going to be difficult to get that one right. Please forgive us, D+ Kia, if we do make the mistake.
We'll try our best. It takes a little bit of time to get it out of your system. Fortunately, we're working a lot, so we got a lot of practice, Atlas. As mentioned, double elimination now introduced, also the challengers, which also didn't have it. Same as what we had in the LCK first half of the bracket will not have double elimination, and then starting at round 2, if you do lose, you'll be able to get another chance. And maybe we'll see some switch-ups. We have, of course, seen, I think, really both sides of the coin. We've seen really good single elimination at Worlds, and then we have also seen some incredible double elimination, particularly in the LPL, where the storylines there were very, very cool to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we've also got the integrated rosters, which is also really, really cool. Means that a lot more calling up and sending down can happen throughout the season. Not entirely sure how much of that is going to be realistically going on. Here in the LCK, we generally stick to rosters a little bit more over the last little while. Of course, not talking about T1 from a couple of years ago. Let's not discuss that, shall we? But of course, yeah, you can mix and match a whole lot easier this time around, which is sort of the rough estimation of what's being represented here by a whole lot of people in different colors.
What's the most important thing is that call-ups are a lot easier, which might not matter because a lot of the players that we did want to see up, players like Pace, players like Bulldog, for the challenger rosters, kind of a loss that they have been called up.
Yep.
But for the overall quality of the LCK, I think it's going to be cool. That also means that in challengers, we're going to have so many new names. Now, some teams have stayed mostly the same. Delmon Kia has it, or there you go already. D+ Kia already not changed at all. DRX also largely the same. But when you look at Nongshim, when you look at Hanwha, when you look at Brion, those teams have really changed the way that the rosters are structured. It makes it really hard because doing scouting pre-challengers is really tough. Scouting challengers is hard enough as it is with the formats and up until now, not actually having an official broadcast. But fortunately, that is no longer the case.
Yep, let's get into our first matchup though, shall we, Chronicler? As these are the players we're introducing to you from Nongshim Red Force, the team that was able to win last season of Challenger with Dundun, 0-7 on his jacks, heroically gonking down the Nexus. Absolutely beautiful stuff. But now I've got a few more people to introduce you to.
We will tell the story of how that went, that co-stream went, because that was a great story in of itself later down the line, and talk about the story of the previous roster of Red Force. But for Nongshim, the most important thing is that Jiwoo is still there. And Jiwoo, to me, was somewhat of a surprise. Vital, when he left for the LGL last split, was someone that I thought was going to be a really, really costly sacrifice. But as it turned out, they were fine. They won with Jiwoo, and he, while I think didn't necessarily hit the consistency of Vitals, did have a lot of highs in terms of his AD carry performance. Now, for the rest of the names, as mentioned, Scouting Academy, especially if you don't speak Korean, like is the case, unfortunately, for me and Atlas, is extremely tough. This team, though, is expected to be one of the top dogs for challengers because it's the same roster, and they've been really good for quite a while now.
Yep, even with Sponge instead of Peach, of course. I think we've been raving on about Peach and Clear for a very long time now.
Yeah.
Peach no longer on the roster, but Clear is still there towards that top side. Saytab, of course, won a few hearts when the entirety of this this team was subbed in during the COVID times of a couple of years ago. So looking forward to seeing what he's going to have for us here after he's been playing for quite some time. A lot of these challenger players very, very young, but Saytab really starting to settle in, and we'll see how he's going to be able to perform here today. Because I think if we're going to be, you know, giving some expectations for this match, I'm feeling like DRX might have a slight leg up. Would that be safe to say there, Chronicler?
Yes. Yes, I really like how subtle you are, Atlas. I feel like you may be shaking off some rust. Usually you're, you know, not one to...
I've been up a mountain for a week, you know, so I've reached a bit of a zen state.
Yeah, you've gotten closer to yourself in the cosmos. You don't want to put out any negativity?
No, absolutely not. I saw 5 shooting stars in one night. which was, you know, in like a sitting of
Wonderful.
like 15 minutes.
What
it was
a
pretty
lack
good.
of light pollution can do.
It is actually how that one works. Also a lot more Milky Way, which I don't think actually is relevant to shooting stars whatsoever. But there we go. We've gone completely off the rails as we prepare for Nongshim to take on DRX. So this year, Chronicler, do you want to take us through some of the changes to the League of Legends that we're going to be experiencing?
Well, that's a very fun and loaded question because the preseason has been widely criticized for having a lack of changes. There's been some new introductions. There's a couple of new items, most notably Jack Show, the protein, which there's been a lot of jokes already. Protein shakes, I think, was one. I forgot who coined it.
Is it protein?
Well, it depends on who you ask, yeah.
Wait,
but
whether you ask someone who's correct or someone who's wrong?
You can make the joke regardless, Atlas. I'm trying to explain what's happening here.
If you've ever played Pokemon, you understand protein instead of protein.
Okay. Atlas,
It's Pokemon ability.
you know what? I'm not because of that. I'm not even gonna finish. We're gonna go to draft, and I'm not gonna talk about what changed in the video game. And you can sort it out yourself.
I guess we're not
After
pulling the car over.
Well,
we're not going to do it.
You were off in your mountain, so I'm sure you know nothing. So good luck with that one.
There have been some bans. Let's have a look at those. As the Jace, Ashe, and Heimerdinger have been removed. I like Ashe Heimerdinger being taken away. Bit of a throwback to our old mates that managed to win a world championship last year. The Lucian ban, no surprise. One thing that's standing out a little bit like a sore thumb is the Yuumi Zeri Sivir situation that could potentially find its way onto the Rift now that we saw yesterday on the LPL and have been seeing a lot. It seems like the more things change, the more they do not change at all.
Would not be shocked to see a Zeri lock-in. First, that is something that we have been gravitating towards. However, Cassante also incredibly strong, has been very high on the list of really any player that played top lane in the preseason has been very, very strong.
Do you want to know a fun fact about Cassante?
Hit me.
Pretty sure it's the only champion that Clear has a positive win rate on this season. Solo queue.
Well, it's already solo queue. We'll forgive him. We'll forgive him.
Oh no, GP as well. I take it all back. Yeah, I did have that stat in front of me at some point, but I've lost it.
There we go.
And there's the Zeri.
Zeri's back. Fun.
Oh my goodness.
The Maokai here has been rapidly rising as a very strong AP pick in the jungle. Mostly been seen with the Phase Rush, which is a very good, well-rounded rune. Oh, yeah, we are still here.
Yep.
I'm going to ignore that for as long as we can.
And this
because
is
Maokai is actually fun to talk about.
Yeah, this is actually something that we were talking about yesterday, though, just before we get to the Maokai point, which is something that's actually kind of relevant to this particular season. But I think that locking in the Yuumi is so much better than locking in the Zeri, because then you either get the Zeri, the Yuumi Sivir, or you get the Zeri Yuumi.
Yeah, we're back to, we think Zeri is better, but is it really better than Sivir and Yuumi? And personally, I'm skeptical. I am very much on the Yuumi hype train, as many people have been. The champion is exceptionally hard to shut down in a lane like this. Obviously, never going to be the goal, but when combined with a very, very strong bruiser like Cassante especially, becomes really tough to really get anything going. What I wanted to talk about before you rudely interrupted me, was the Rod of Ages coming back. It's a fan favorite, and initially it was not good at all, and then they kept buffing it, and now it is good. Now it's quite a strong item, and as a result, champions like Ryze, champions like the Kassadin have been somewhat rising in priority. Wonder if DRX is going to give the counter pick over here, or rather try and hide, but where they are going to go with their composition. But Renekton going to get locked in. As general, Renekton kind of goes with everything. Mostly going to be a meat shield deal to buy some space for the Zeri and the Lulu, but not the best to play into a especially if that Gangplank gets locked in, although I have no idea who goes where then. But I'm down for flexing, you know? Embrace the madness that is Challengers.
Well, the new and somewhat improved Syndra has been locked in here for Call Me. Well, maybe. Maybe it's been locked in for Call Me. As there is the Lee Sin. So, looking pretty standard here on the Nongshim side. I was looking at the DRX comp and I was thinking, well, they are a Galio away from basically what RNG played yesterday. And did relatively well, and I believe that was Zeri Yuumi in that particular composition, so slightly different, but I think Galio would still fit beautifully on this DRX comp. If Satab wants to play it, of course, Satab, he played a bunch of Victor, if I remember correctly, when he was playing in the LCK. Does like his control mages, and he's going to pick up the Azir this time around. He wants that agency, and you can't blame him. Also, he's against a relatively stationary mage in the mid lane. And so you get that flash, and you feel pretty good about getting a scoop.
Nice thing for DRX that they're able to really play around Plata. I think he has, even though with how much credit I've been giving to Clear in particular as a extremely well-rounded top laner, he has been, to me, the most consistent factor on this roster, has been really, really good for quite a while, has been benefiting from having Jun as a support, who now has, of course, also been called up, is now playing for Kwangdong in the LCK together with Taeyun. And that is something that might actually hurt DRX a lot. I think they were definitely not necessarily relying, but Jun was, to me, a big part of why the team looked so cohesive, the voice that they had. But for Nongshim, it's much harder because, again, this is a roster that is very freshly formed. So a composition like this where you have, I think in terms of execution as Nongshim, it's pretty straightforward, right? You try to create some space with your Syndra. You have a lot of topside power with Cassante, Lee, and the Syndra early on. If you can land some combos, and you have a really nice scaling element as well towards that bot side. Versus, I think, a little bit more execution heavy come from DRX. The one upside for DRX, if they get ahead, Maokai, when he gets lead, is not enjoyable to play against. So Yuumi can mitigate it a little bit, but I see not a lot of combat. And that's with Yuumi. Right?
Yeah.
And that says a lot.
Yeah, no, it's looking a little bit scary for Nongshim. I do like the power that they do have slightly in the mid game, with the fact that you can use Sivir to power up the Bash Bros coming towards from that top side of the map with Cassante and Lee Sin. Syndra kind of fits into that sort of theme as well, having you know, more of that mid game power spike. Although now with the changes, she will be able to get a few of those upgrades coming on through a little bit earlier on in theory. So we'll see how that one does go. But it is just about time to hop onto the Rift for our very first game of Challenger in 2023. LCK CL, the global broadcast for the first time, officially. Very excited, Chronicler, are you? Can you hold back? He can. Here we are, onto the Rift for game number 1 of Nongshim taking on DRX.
I was about to answer in all my wild enthusiasm.
We are going, it's just going to be full CL. Oh
Okay,
no, they
fine.
gave up because they knew that he was going to be there, but then he managed to get the back off. Oh, that...
He's just fine.
I was expecting just like all the flashes.
Setup got an early ward here, already on 1 CS.
There we go.
Chovy-esque practices here. Plata did have to use his Ghost, but that's a summoner that I think you're going to give up very, very happily, even with Lee possibly paying attention towards that bot side. I don't think you have a lot of kill pressure. Also very defensive summoners being picked up here by Jiwoo and HH or double H? Like, what do you... We have some stuff we have some stuff we need to talk about here in terms of naming conventions.
Taking some damage here towards the bottom side of the map. Just bopping and blocking though. No worries there at all. Piero having a good time. But we'll see how this bottom lane's going to go. Of course, needs no real introduction because this is what we've been watching for like all of last year. So
yeah,
it's just the Zeri Yuumi situation, and even though the Yumi's on the other side of the Rift, it's just these 4 champions in some order have been all over the shop.
What you were referring to earlier,
yeah,
and no, not that. I'm talking about the preseason. To continue on that note, if this is the first competitive league that you've watched, there are also jungle pets, which, while very cute, haven't really changed that much. If you have the blue smite, you get as Maokai does in this case, Sponge went for that one. You get a little bit of extra movement speed and brushes. With green, you get a shield, and with yellow, you get some, or a red redder, which hasn't been picked in this scenario, you get some extra damage. It's all nice. Hasn't really substantially changed the role. Scuttle timer is now a little bit later. There's no longer a shield on that, but it hasn't really.
No more denying of camps as well.
Yeah, well,
which is kind of interesting.
Kind of. It's definitely a much bigger investment. The one thing that I do like is I think that the reducing level 1 invades, the power of those, I'm kind of on board with. But yeah, the counter jungling being mitigated is not a change that I necessarily love. What I do love though, or maybe more accurately find very, very funny is that on patch 13.2, we will have a significant revamp in terms of items. Most notably, the AD carry items are going to be completely different. So that might be where the meta says, okay, now this is enough. We're going to completely swap it around. Infinity Edge being lowered from a 60% crit to a 40% crit threshold is going to make big waves, I think, in terms of what champions are viable. But that's not this patch. Yeah. This patch is Sivir and Yumi.
Hey, and there's some...
Zari and Lulu. There's a new
Lucian
dragon.
Nami, you know?
Oh, Lucian, yeah. Yeah, that exists. That's good.
Yep.
That we haven't seen that, right, for a while, Lucian Nami?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that one for a while. That's basically, that's a new thing. I'm pretty sure that's a new thing, Chronicler. Looking forward to seeing that. Was banned this game.
I like Chemtech.
Oh wait, yeah, we get Chemtech now. So this is also not the same. Like, if you guys are getting PTSD from the old terrible Chemtech Drake, it has been changed up just a little bit. I like the idea of having all of the plants do weird stuff. So I'm excited to see. Like, we can't get a Chemtech Rift this time around, but still.
This is one of the very few things that I aggressively fight about with Brendan Valdez, because he hates the plants. Always has. He's not a fan. Personally, I love the plants. I think jumping twice as far, one of the funniest things in the video game. Yep. I am a big fan. I really enjoy it. But as you said, not going to be the case here. Chemtech Soul, as already pointed out, and both the Soul and the Rift, frankly, maybe even the Rift was worse than the Soul with the stealth.
I mean, the Rift was the worst part. That was the worst part.
Has completely been taken away. Now you get more empowered plants, and the Soul, I think, is interesting, if a little underpowered. I wonder how that's going to be as we get deeper and deeper into the season. But basically, when you get lower, when you get below 50% health, you become a lot stronger. The downside of that, I think, is that if you just get 100 to 0'd, which even post-ability patch we see every now and then, it doesn't really kick in fast enough. So hopefully I am wrong, and that Drake will be a little bit more substantial, because I like the Souls to be strong as possible gank opportunity here.
Yeah, Setab in trouble. Scatter of the Week will connect there as the ulti comes through. Flash comes out, and they'll take the R for Flash trade in the case of Nongshim. Very nicely done.
Really, really nice. That means that in any follow-up situation, Setab not going to have the opportunity as Sponge going to go in.
Yeah, you're going to find Sounder there. Sounder and Sponge.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Real good one. Anyway, Sounder's going to wander away. Tree not exactly the most threatening at this point in the game. Clear is looking to try and grab himself a tower plate and is going to be able to do so. As we do manage to get the Q to land there. Pushes him back underneath the turret. Flies on through there with the ultimate. Still looking to try and chase after Clear, who does use the Dominus. There is the stun. Decent amount of damage. Manages to pull him back one more time. And it is going to be first blood in the 1v1 over to the Cassante.
And very nicely done. Clear, player that often has been credited for his very, very consistent gameplay. Very reliable player, can play multitude of styles. Getting a 1v1s, and very unfortunate for him. Starts off with the initial knock-up. That might have been fine, but crucially there, Melee able to get the knockback, grab him back underneath the turret, and as a result, Claire being very far up the lane, not able to get away, will be able to catch most of this wave. So even though that kill is really, really nicely, and when it's credit, hits the knockback, gets him closer, and then, Claire, unfortunately, with lane in the flash there, does get pulled back. And then now, easy opportunity. Doesn't have the Fury or the cooldowns to win this extended fight, as Cassante has a lot of sustain and a lot of tankiness. But he does keep this entire wave. So even though it's unfortunate and he will be behind, it's not a horrible scenario. We'll be able to pick up that entire cannon wave. And as long as he can try and make sure that he doesn't get stuck in that extended lane again when the ultimate for Cassante is up again, I think Claire should still be able to be in a decent spot here.
Yeah, I also think that the Bramble Vest was completed as they were doing that first battle. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong there, but certainly could have made things a little bit more difficult there for Clear, as Koldomik not going to be healing for as much, plus the extra armor going to be fantastic. But very nicely done there from our Cassante player, Mihail, up there towards the top side. We'll see whether Clear can pull it back, as got a bit of a congregation. Looks like the Rift Herald is being considered for now. as Sounder's got his cat. I like that Sounder is playing a blind champion. Kind of makes sense. He needs to rely more on sound.
Oh my god, he has a sonic wave as well.
I know.
Synergy Atlas.
Actually, Sounder's champion. Sounder might be dead. However, his name, very accurate. That's going to be a kill going over to the Zeri the cat. Of course, with nowhere to go, that's going to equal a double. All of a sudden, DRX feeling a whole lot better than when their crocodile died in the top lane.
And this is the unfortunate reality of playing your first Challengers game, or playing your first of any game in a new league. There might be some nerves. I don't think that January Sounder will just stand there, get engaged on by Maokai on short range without flash being used and die.
Yeah.
Not the best look, can happen, and of course...
No, it's because Zeri's broken. That's why. That's why. Because, you know, Denunciator said it in Twitch chat. Zeri's just... Zeri's overpowered. That's why she just got the double kill.
No, I don't like Zeri. We're not doing this as, ooh, call me.
All right, goes for a little bit of a shift, but you can see Call Me, absolutely fine.
So,
cool, calm, and collected.
There's 2 musical references I can already think of from the top of my head for Call Me.
Got it. Maybe.
There's Call Me Maybe.
Yeah.
And there's You Used to Call Me on my cell phone.
Yeah, true. I think it should...
I'm sure there should be more.
Because we're here with you, it should just be the Carly Rae Jepsen reference.
That would be my preference.
That's the only one.
But I don't want to enforce my... Actually, I do that all the time.
You do that all the time.
Yeah, never mind. When it comes to Carly Rae Jepsen, I do get a bit over-enthusiastic every now and then.
Well, right now, I actually think that that last fight around the Rift Herald, the one where Sounder just decided that he wasn't going to be able to survive, I think that might be quite relevant moving forward here. As you can already see, about 1,000 gold advantage, but DRX already had a composition that was feeling a whole lot better about just going as long as Nongshim wanted and feeling great about it. So I'm a little bit worried about the state of the game here for our Nongshim friends, of course, defending Challenger champions.
It's also where the gold is allocated, because if this gold went over to Lulu, or even if it went to Clear, right? Renekton can definitely be a threat, but I do think Nongshim has the tools to kind of mitigate the impact that a Renekton can have. But unfortunately for Nongshim, it's on one of the most notorious hypercarries of 2023. Was completely taken out of the meta due to a lot of consistent nerfs. At Worlds, didn't see her at all as a result.
Oh, okay, man. Just getting the control ward in. We're fine.
Ooh, setup getting taken low. So now round 2. Not going to be the case.
I feel like if he skipped the last auto on that ward that he threw out there, might have been able to get in range, but wasn't able to get over there. And so therefore the Scout of the Week not going to be capitalized on. You can see CS numbers looking pretty good for Call Me in that mid lane as Q connects. Prowling projectile there as well. You can see Piero pretty happy about his situation right now, just wandering around, gets the wild growth for the knock-up. Kickback's going to connect though, and that is a very dead Lulu. I feel like Piero had a plan, and it didn't work at all.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused there as well. Might have to do with the fact that they wanted to try and fake that Sponge was in the area. I think you saw the initial hesitation as well from Nongshim there.
Yeah.
Are they going to go in? Because if Sponge is there, yeah, I don't think you win that 3v3 with the lead that already has been built up for DRX. But Sounder says, I'll give it a go. I'm going to try. And this time around, there is no Maokai, and Piero doesn't have flash, and as a result, just dies unceremoniously.
Indeed. Maybe just thought that he was dead. Without the flash, of course, you're not really going to be able to get out of there unless you can use your movement speed and juke very, very effectively. So I'm not entirely sure.
Can't juke through a wall, Atlas.
I know, but he could have just gone down, you know, and just walked through the brush. You know, I don't know.
Jiwa was there.
Yeah.
It's cutting him off.
Yeah. I mean, Pleta was there. Could have just at least looked menacing.
Yeah.
Not sure. Definitely looked like a bit of a dead Lulu situation. Anyway. DRX now just going to come on down and look to knock down the front door. They are going to be able to get at least a couple of turret plates here. Also, Call is going to turn up a little bit late there, but does manage to get the money. Nice little Scout of the Week lands one more time. Been pretty impressed by this mid laner so far. Landing those skill shots, looking pretty good as Pleta's going to be able to dash his way back. No worries at all.
Maybe a possibility there for Nongshim to play around that mid lane. Rod of Ages about to be acquired here for Call Me. Going to, of course, lead to, especially if you can kind of sync it up, the power spike of the Rod of Ages combined with the Syndra getting stronger and stronger as the game goes on, as I'm feeling a little worried about this top lane here. Do have to note that Clear does have his core drinker finish. That is a big power spike, but as you already noted, will have his healing reduced when it's in extended fights. I think Cold and Meek generally you still be fine. As, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, there's the ulti coming through from the Maokai. Wild Growth invested as well, as there's the Emperor's Divide to just grab Call Me. Looking to try and get out of there, but instead it's the tree that's going to fall down, and now DRX have to scatter. Nongshim standing their ground.
Big challengers. Yeah, it only took 13 minutes, and we find ourselves wondering, what's going on? Why are we taking a fight?
Well,
what is happening?
Well, Clear might be able to get some revenge here as he flashes forward, not able to get enough damage. Oh, the minions auto attack, but no. Manages to get the shield, and Cassante is Cassante, as it turns out.
Amazing. I'm so back. I'm so glad we're back. Because in the LCK, we would probably rightly go on a questioning streak. Why was that fight taken around mid? What are we doing? Why are we fighting that aggressively when we're not sure we can 100-0 the end?
Because they were trying to get vision for the Hextech Drake that's going to be coming up
in
a minute.
No, that's not what's happening. The call is we can kill Lee fast enough. Kero goes in, and they really throw everything at him, and this time around, the reinforcements are there. And I actually really like this from Nongshim, because for DRX, that looks like a surefire kill. It's a repeated play that happened in the top side of the map, but now we know Nongshim, they were conditioning them. That one play was just bait, because this time around, the backup is actually there. They keep Sounder alive, and now as a result, going to pick themselves up the second Rift Herald. I do think, though, that I would much rather see them prioritize Dragon. They have one already, so Dragon stacking from DRX, if they do pick it up, is still going to be relatively far away, and looks like they will be able to contest nonetheless. A lot of first item spikes coming through here, and we do see Demonic Embrace already done here for Sponge as well. Going to give a little bit of extra body, but it looks like Nongshim will be able to do both here.
Yeah, just going to head on down there using that vision that they're able to pick up by winning that fight that we weren't necessarily expecting them to. DRX do get the news. Dragon still not taken just yet. Lee Sin not exactly
he walks up
with as many friends as he would like. There's the kickback though, as Sponge not going to be able to get in range. Emperor's Divide goes wide, unfortunately, as the final chapter comes down. Pleta is immediately going to get exhausted as we get the best Drake in the game. Thank you so much for organizing that, whoever did so. Call Me in a whole host of trouble.
He lives!
Yeah, manages to get the tree on his way out as well, as it's Mile that's able to get that kill. Clear coming down. Dominance already popped here. Wants to try and find an avenue in. Can't find a slice target to get that dice in there, and doesn't have flash available either. So he's just a wandering crocodile, and Piero might also be taken down, but Glitter Lance is going to be there to be frustrating, and they do make it out. Nongshim just winning fights, Chronicler. That's what's happening.
Yeah, I'm kind of baffled. I would call Unidiv, because of the fact that for 2 times in a row now, we've seen Nongshim members look like juicy targets and then barely stay alive. Most notably here, the exhaust means that Plata can't join the fight. Satop, due to the flash, unable to really get anything on Call Me, and Call Me, due to the short range of Zeri, final hits not going to hit. And Drake goes over to Nongshim. Do have to say though, when it comes to the macro, DRX immediately teleport towards top, and they get double side lane turret. So they do actually are able to keep the gold even though they trade unfavorably. But what I do really like, especially in a league that is as scrappy as Challengers, is Nongshim's willingness to just throw whatever we have at any given time at their opponents.
Yeah, it's just, it feels like a little bit of a hands difference situation within these team fights, which is very, very interesting, given the fact that I would have thought that the coordination wouldn't quite be there yet for Nongshim, a team that has only just really started playing together, as of course the entirety of the Nongshim LCK squad from last year is no more, and the previous champions of Challenger for summer last year are now the main LCK roster. So this is a team that haven't necessarily been able to put in that much time to get that in-fight coordination. Just seems like already things kind of working out just fine. However, it doesn't take away any of the problems that they might face in the later game, given, you know, the Maokai and the Azir and the Zeri situation. But if they manage to get enough money into Jiwoo, may not even be a problem.
Yeah, that's the saving grace here for Nongshim. I think Syndra also will provide a lot of threat later in the game. Makes playing the game a lot harder for both Setup and Claire. When a scattered weak hits you, you're just going to immediately die. I do think that the Bruiser build from Claire is a good call in that regard, because I really like Prowler's Claw, Renekton, you know, Blade the Rune King. Prowler's Claw has a lot of immediate threat that can allow you to 100 to 0 and 80 carry, but you're playing into a Sivir with a Yuumi and Exhaust and Heal. So that realistically isn't going to happen. So instead, Clear trying to offer a lot of value by being a big, beefy frontline. Also, for Sponge, I haven't really talked about his build yet, is going to go for Demonic Embrace, but looking to opt into a more tanky build from there on out, which I think is a good call. You will still have plenty of magic damage available with your Azir, and from ahead, I think it feels incredibly strong to go like more AP heavy, go maybe a Leon Breeze as well. But when you're on even footing, having an actual front line is definitely valuable, and that is a possibility. As gold, dead even, kills relatively low.
I mean, Nongshim theoretically doing exactly the right thing, right? Because they've stacked up a couple of Drakes as well, a possibility of getting towards an earlier soul of the best Drake in the game, and therefore might be able to mitigate some of what could be seen as late game disadvantages. Although the more I look at it, the more it's a little bit of a wash, and this is also Challenger, so how much does it all even really mean when it comes to the late game outside of just executing better?
Oh yeah, I'm glad.
I'm starting to figure it out. I'm starting to figure it out.
Yeah, but you don't really know until you've really, you've been through it.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm glad that you're already mentally prepared for, we don't know. That was one of my most uttered sentences last year when I did the Challengers co-streams, is we don't know.
Do you know what I know? I know that they changed the name of Cloud Drake to Wind Drake. Specifically for Challenger. So you might be thinking that the overlay is wrong. It's not. Cloud Drake actually has a different name for the Challenger broadcast. So we are now Wind Drake Enjoyers, as we're going to be seeing one in 20 seconds time. DRX coming over, trying to get some vision themselves.
Kara, I think you're dead.
He may just be. Manages the wild growth, but doesn't get the knockup for it. Colmy's just going to sweep up that kill. Final chapter not going to quite get there, but Sounder is just going to listen for the right moment to murder Azeri, and he's going to be able to do beautifully here. Sponge going to be treated exactly like his namesake here, as Nongshim say that they don't want a Wind Drake right now. They want a Baron.
Atlas? I posed the question at the beginning of the day, to what extent is DRX going to feel that Jun is no longer with them? And I don't even want to, you know, put this on Piero specifically, even though he's been caught out a bunch of times. That can happen. We saw the same thing happen to Sound at the beginning of the game. But the most important thing is that this team looks a little bit clueless, and not in a way that they have no idea what they're doing, but this is a team that, I think, out of any Challenger teams, was the smartest. They were the most well-rounded. They were the ones that played the most solid macro game. That is what led them to be the dominant force that they were in 2022. And none of that's here, right? Like, none of that's here right now. They're just walking up, and of course, Peach has already been gone for a while now. Piero now taking over as well. But we are actually seeing very clearly, I think, that this DRX is going to need a major readjustment, because what's happening here is Piero is, which is a good idea, trying to set up a little bit of vision around a pit, but he's not ready at all, whereas Nongshim has shown very clearly, perhaps to a fault, that they're going to fight, they're going to scrap, and especially as Lulu, you don't really can be in a position like that unless you have an immediate response. So DRX trying to cut corners a little bit here, and that may be a conscious decision, it may not be, but it does mean that with now Baron picked up, yeah, you got one Cloud Drake as DRX.
Woohoo! Yay!
Yay!
However, it is still the best Drake in the game, so just mind what you say just for a moment. Nongshim, though, they are going to be able to take down this inner turret here, and you can see the gold lead starting to stretch. About 5,000 gold now, as Setab is going to do the best he can to even this one out. Bounties are available as well, but looks like Mihail's going to get here in order to stop that one from happening. So DRX certainly feeling on the ropes, and it looked like, you know, after that initial play that did work out well for them, it felt like after that, things just really started to fall apart. It felt like the gameplay got a little bit more sloppy, and they're going to have to really pick it up if they want to be able to win here. Maybe even if they want to win this series, as if Nongshim are able to take this, it's fantastic for momentum moving into the second game, especially for a new team of young players like Nongshim are. Q going to barely miss there. I think that really scraped by the back of the Maokai's pajamas, but still, Sonic Wave not going to connect as DRX is just trying to pick up the pieces.
And now we are going to see DRX try and desperately defend until the Baron buff runs out. Got about a quarter of the time left. And once that has happened, I think DRX might be looking for some possible opportunities. Can also give it the next Drake as well, but like, what are the item breakpoints that we're looking for? Pladas is still quite far away. Setab gets caught.
Layering, layering of CC certainly working out relatively well there as Setab going down to about 1/3, but otherwise he is going to be just fine.
Well, he's alive. I don't know if he's fine. I think they're having a bit of a rough time.
Yeah, he's got 2 summoner spells though and everything like that. Like he's feeling good. He'll come back, has his Shadow Flame now at the ready. Has now got a little bit of a zoom in here. Feels like the observers, at least, Yundo was thinking that something was going to happen there. Chronically, could you feel it in the way that he was observing?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that we're watching Yundo's one. He also works with the global broadcast for the LCK, and in his off time does a little bit of observing here for the Challenger streamer. Sponge! Oh dear. There is the chain CC, and he twisted advanced himself to the Nether Realm from what it looked like there. 8-2 is the kill score here as we're scattering more weak, and that is exactly what Nongshim are doing. Call me getting it absolutely correct. As the inner turret is going to fall down, every single tower outside of the base of DRX has been raised. And we've got a minute and a half on the Drake, 2.5 on the Baron, and Nongshim in full control. They've just looked way more coordinated. And this is absolutely not what I was expecting at all.
No, I'm shocked. We were coming in, we were going over the matches of the day, and I was, yeah, this should be a quick 2-0 for DRX.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Yeah. We should not have doubted the 2022 Summer
Stop saying that
Champions
it's a completely different team. Only G was there. I know you're joking.
You said completely different, except G was there.
Yeah, okay, well, not completely different. Substantially different,
yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, different enough. Absolutely. However, looks like something in the organization, you know, maybe it's what they're feeding these players, you know?
Maybe. I think it's a little column. Nongshim looking a lot better. Some maybe beginner nerves for some of the players. Myhal, Sounda, and or actually, I say it's really just Sounda who got caught once, made one mistake, and outside of that, it's been great. Myhal and Call Me obviously doing very well in this game as well. But it's also DRX. It's not looking too hot, looking very frazzled, looking like a shadow of the team, and that both makes me a little bit more excited for Kwangdong's performance, because I'm gonna pull a barrel and just blame everything on the support change. And that's not, again, that's not the detriment of Piero, but June was, in my opinion, the best supporting challenger. He was a player that I think offered so much to the team, and when you lose a voice like that, readjusting is very, very tough. And we should also not forget that as good as DRX has been, actually winning in key moments has been a bit of a recurring problem for them.
Yeah. Basically, as an organization, before the World Championship of last year, that was the recurring theme. Now that, you know, they went ahead and won Worlds, it's a little bit annoying.
I still can't believe that we're watching World Champion organization DRX. That is baffling to me.
Yeah.
That's still...
Yep.
I don't get it.
It's just something we're going to have to get used to.
And you know what the cool thing is? Maybe one of these players down the line wins Worlds.
100%. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about 100%. I think that's very optimistic, but...
Well, I mean, there's definitely
or 100% that there's a chance.
I think that LCK Challenger has... it must be a very, very high probability of one of the players in Challenger from the LCK eventually winning a World Championship. Because it's a great breeding ground, and there's so many Korean players that have shown so much dominance after coming through said system. Mihail going to walk on through, sees the control ward. Don't think he's going to kill it. It's a good idea.
It's bait.
Yes,
but they're not taking it at all because they don't really have to.
Yep. DRX playing defensively, which I like to see, because they were, prior to this, playing extraordinarily aggressively and losing a lot.
The pet, like, running and flying around is really, really funny.
I do like that there's just a bit of Pokemon in my League of Legends these days.
Ooh, there we go.
Now, Baron has been started here as Nongshim. They know that they've been spotted. But as you can see, Q going to connect here as Sounder looking for Piero one more time. This Lulu has been in a lot of trouble. There's the kickback onto Sponge. He's in the pit, and he's immediately in the death chamber. Now, we've got Clear trying to come on through, wants to be able to lock something down. It's a big ulti to come through here as the Crocodile's going to get thrown back in amongst them. The Gore Drinker was fantastic for a moment there, but it's a double kill now for the Sivir. There is a Zeri situation, but the stun comes through, and Call Me says maybe next time. As Nongshim, they're looking for the win.
And teleport's coming down. I think that might have been in DRX. A last Hail Mary attempt, but Sponge getting blown up in seconds. And Sounder, I gotta say, I am impressed. After a very rough early game in your first Challenger games, coming back like that,
yeah,
I think super impressive.
Absolutely. Especially when it caused HH to die as well. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Who do you think POG is going to go? Oh, I think I may be calling it. I think I'm gonna go with a mid lane preference myself, because I just think that Call Me was landing a lot. Although, yeah, Sounder was also pretty amazing.
Atlas has a vote.
I have a vote.
That is very big. I'm gonna give it to Sounder. I think he's earned it.
Yeah,
I think that honestly, after that first initial kill, I thought it was gonna be a very quick spiral and a lot of problems, but not going to be the case. Already in this first game, Nongshim upsetting what I think many expected to be a relatively one-sided game. Well, we got a one-sided game, just not in the direction that we were expecting, and it is just the best of one. I don't want to make any grand statements, but if this goes into a quick 2-0 here,
yeah,
that would be something. That would be a very surprising start. And it's Challengers, so you can always go in circles about, is it really surprising if something's surprising, because nothing makes sense. But I want to give credit where credit is due. Really nice first game here from Nongshim, a team that, again, they won with a miracle run. I don't want to say DRX-esque, because that is one of a kind, but still, very, very surprising results that they found for themselves, winning the playoffs in 2022 summer. Coming back. You also see again Jiwoo, of course, is a Sivir in a game where he wasn't threatened at all, but you do see, I think, something that we saw of him last split as well, where if he gets given the space, he pumps out a lot of damage.
And I'm actually quite impressed, because most of that game, it was Sounder and Call Me getting a bunch of work done around the map, right? It wasn't one of these, like, it wasn't one of these massive 80 carry pop-offs, but to see that kind of damage number after being relatively subdued throughout the game, not being that sort of flashy player or anything like that, just getting that consistent damage down, exactly what a Sivir wants to do. Very impressed by how Jiwoo played out this game myself as well.
You know what the best part of this game was that because of, you know, I think Kasante's still fun because he's new.
Yeah.
I do think he's definitely strong. He's a strong champion. That's fine. Mile played him well. But because of how much mid-action there was, because of how prevalent Sound and Call Me were, there was also a lot of distraction from that cat in the book. We were not that frustrated by it, because, and then when you think back, Sounder had a Yumi on him for like 4 out of the 5 plays that he made. But we're gonna try and shove that under the rug.
Yeah, let me I can ask you another question, like I asked you in Champion Select. If that Zeri had been a Yumi instead.
No, I don't think it would make a difference here. I mean, I know you're trying to get a rise out of me, but I actually.
No, I'm just saying, no, if DRX had a priority pick the Yumi instead.
No, I know.
I think it would have helped.
I don't think it would have made a difference.
Oh, really? Okay.
Looking at the play? No, not particularly.
Well, actually, that's kind of a decent point.
Like, think back to the game we just watched, Atlas.
Yeah. I just think that it wasn't about the Zeri. Anyway, maybe that's just me. Call Me's going to pick up the POG. Atlas 100% POG pick rate thus far in 2023.
I like a redemption story, Atlas.
I think I was 100% also in 2022. I think I voted twice.
It's It's not a marathon, Atlas. Wait, no, it is a marathon. Oh my God. We gotta get back. We gotta get back into it.
You're already sprinting it.
Yeah. As Call Me and Sauna, really, that mid-jungle 2v2 from two players that have just been called up to the Challengers level. Really impressive. Very, very well done. His Scatter the Weeks were instrumental in setting up a lot of the mid-game plays. Also shut down a couple of attempted plays coming through from the opponents. And you also see, this is something you saw at Worlds as well, like if your mid-jungle 2v2 has the map on lockdown, it becomes very hard to do anything. And I think that's a really big difference that we saw here. DRX was completely unable to deal with not having mid-prio, not being able to have any movement or any leeway on the map, and Nongshim really caught them off guard.
They did, and it just looked like Nongshim wanted it more as well throughout a lot of this game. They really tightened up a lot of that play after the issues. So we are going to get into some highlights. Let's check it out. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Challengers Korea 2023. Almost said 2022. My brain balked for a second there. Didn't actually decide to say 2022 this time around. It is going to happen at some point this year. But we
would have never known if you hadn't told us, Atlas.
Exactly. And what you also may not have known is who won that last game. If you were just watching the break screen, you hadn't actually seen the first game, well, in fact, it was Nongshim that managed to pick up the victory. That is also not us. That is Nuclear, the machine. The machine, just machine. And of course, Dongjun, who's going to be casting the Korean broadcast of Challenger. Actually, mega stacked, like Challenger broadcast lineup. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, is Nongshim going to win game 2?
I don't know, because it's Challengers. Based on the gameplay of game 1, I'm like, yep. Yep, because I do think in the current meta, there is a lot of potential for snowballing. And if you get an early lead and you get early items, you start stacking Drakes. It can become really hard for opponents to come back. But I don't think that what was happened here, because up until like 15, 20 minutes, it was actually very even. It was just a series of consequential mistakes from DRX, mistakes that I didn't think they made nearly as many of last year, that really cost them very quickly. And they're the type of mistakes that you can fix them in a game. You can also say, okay, you know, shake off the rust a bit. But I'd be a little worried if I was a DRX fan, and I'm just very positively surprised by what Nongshim has shown. And I want to remind everyone, of course, we're not on the official broadcast, but one thing I loved about Challengers is that everybody, even you watching at home, collectively embraced the madness and embraced the positivity that these are 16-year-old pro gamers. Like, did you have responsibility when you were 16? Because I didn't, and if I would have been given any, I don't think I would have done very well.
No,
okay, some of them are not, but they are.
And what we're really trying to do here is trying to preserve what was the positive atmosphere of the Chronicler Soup-sponsored co-stream of Challenger. That's what we need to do. Yeah.
I should have started a line of soups.
You should have.
I really should have. Wow.
I
never even considered
the opportunity is still there. The future exists. I'm pretty sure. Even though I've only ever lived in the present.
I'm casting 6 days a week.
Yeah. Well, DRX have selected the red side.
Again. Okay.
But here in Challenger, we actually don't call it the red side. We call it the red zone. They have selected the red zone.
I'm down. I'm
all actually super psyched. I want Wind Drake. I want a different name for every single Drake, and I want to call sides different, just slightly different names.
I love it.
Yeah. So we need red zone and blue zone, and we've got Wind Drake already. Ground Drake.
Okay, so Wind
Inferno Drake.
Ground Drake. No, that's too close.
Poison Drake.
Just Fire Drake.
I mean, Fire Drake. Everyone always says that anyway.
Lava Drake.
Lava Drake. Oh, that's brilliant. Water Drake is a pretty easy one. Do you want something different for that? Lake Drake.
Can we do Lake Drake?
Oh, that's even better. It's in, a little lake as well.
Nice.
Oh, really
I'm down.
All right, well, speaking of things that we are, Nongshim have banned away the same champions. DRX have also banned away the same champions. We'll see what the final one is going to be. It is just going to once again be Varus.
Is it time?
Is it the salty?
Well, you're picking Cassante. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Mihail was also pretty good at it, managing to get that solo kill onto clear, as now DRX might just decide, instead of locking in the Maokai, to lock in Zeri Yuumi. Okay, never mind.
That is not the adjustment I was expecting. I don't know whether this is a pick for Claire, whether this is his answer into the Cassante, or whether this is a reprioritization for Sponge. I don't know why you wouldn't pick Yuumi. I'm completely on board with you here, Atlas. Maybe you are worried that you will get shut down, but I find it hard to believe. Now, I do think that barring mid-jungle, and there are still adjustments available there, comps were not necessarily at fault. I do think the comp from DRX was perfectly fine in terms of play.
Serviceable.
And this is something that I really want to highlight often with specifically challengers in relation, if you're an LCK viewer, you watch the normal pro leagues. Execution is everything. I have seen teams throw more like unlosable games than I can count. I've seen teams win games that they had no business, and I really do believe that when you're talking at a Worlds level, when you're talking at a LCK or an LPL level, even the LCS and the LEC, I think comps matter a lot. I think there is a lot of difference in how easy it is to play out, what the margins are, but these players are just playing on a different level. They are playing much more volatile, much more inexperienced. So I really like Challenger draft for that regard, because even if you look at this and you see this is as boring as it gets, right? It's Sivir, it's Zeri, it's Yuumi, it's Lulu. But last game wasn't boring.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
Do you think that
don't pick Renekton again.
Could Call Me maybe play...
Oh, okay. They do go for the nah.
I actually just wanted to say Call Me maybe. I didn't really want to talk about it. Syndra hasn't been something that he's really been known for in his previous games here in Challenger for good old Call Me. So looking forward to seeing what he's going to do here as new and improved Udyr being considered.
I love Yuumi Hecarim.
Yuumi Hecarim, pretty broken, of course. Another tried and true one. Yeah.
Maybe it's a recurring theme. Bruiser and Yuumi is what makes us excited.
I mean, I would have really liked Vi as well, because Vi is sort of the classic anti-Zeri option.
I like Vi.
Would have been something that could have worked. That's a Talia, man. I'm becoming like very quickly a massive Call Me fan.
You're. I mean, I've been lobbying for years. trying you to be a fan. It will be the 0 after all, so losing
To be
some
perfectly
points
honest,
there.
I always liked that song.
It's just a good
It's
song.
a bit of a banger, isn't it?
It's just a good song.
I really wish...
I wonder how long we can run the Call Me jokes.
I mean, I think we can do it all season until he stops playing.
Ooh,
yes,
yes. Why am I saying yes? Because I think if Kassadin is meta, that's bad. And it means that he and his items will get nerfed soon. And I think that will be good for the game. So
Keep playing it.
because if you look at the game and you see Kassadin and Zeri and Sivir and Yuumi and Azir, you might not be expecting anything to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But there will, because that's just how it goes. I do actually think that specifically the Kassadin with the Sejuani is quite nice. Kassadin does have the ability to stack the permafrost relatively quickly, of course being melee and having auto reset on his W. But outside of that, it's not really a great Sejuani angle, and I'm wondering whether this is a comfort thing for Sponge, where he specifically called, please let me play something else, because I did not have a good game. Sponge, to me, together with Piero, were the clear weak points in
I
the
thought
previous
Piero
game.
was a little bit more of that weak point, getting caught out, especially towards the mid to late game, trying to get deep vision down. When, as an enchanter support, you really need to pick those timings very, very well, unless you want to create clear openings for your opposition. So it was certainly the downside to me. But they have made sure that Nongshim have their own adjustments to make as well. Far more of that AoE teamfight comp to come through from them. Now, I kind of think that it sort of almost works out better.
What they should do? Nongshim should swap mid and top.
Do you know also they're playing the new champion, Monkey King, which is pretty cool.
I hadn't even noticed that. That's a banger.
Yeah, it's Jet Li, dude.
I just wanna again reiterate. If they swap lanes, like I don't think DRX can play the game, because playing Kassadin to Cassante, that's not you can't do that. And playing Azir into Gnar,
True.
yeah,
That'd actually be kind of dope. Speaking of which, I really love the color adjustment that they do for this zoom in. Really, really awesome. Kind of wish
they're not
that.
swapping.
Yeah, no, they're not going to. Because that's not how it works. Mihail is a top laner. Okay?
Is it Mihail or Mihail?
Isn't that the same? Didn't you say the same word twice?
No, I feel like the you know, the stress is on different parts of the world. It's Mihail versus Mihail.
Ah,
Yeah.
but isn't it me, not my? Because otherwise it'd be a Y?
Maybe.
I'm sure Kevin Kim knows.
I don't. I actually, this is one of those situations where it would be better if his name was written in Korean. Because the beauty of Korean is, it's very self-explanatory in terms of how to pronounce stuff.
That's actually very true, very phonetic as far as language is concerned.
Incredibly
Do you want to know the...
well-designed
Speaking of well-designed,
writing system. Yeah.
what is well-designed is the commentary setup that we have here at Challenger, which involves a screen in front of me that has Twitch chat on it. And so, is that not Evan? Because it's like heaven, but spelled with an A instead of an H.
So I guess it's Mihail.
So he's thinking it's Mihail because of MapleStory. And also, I know that MapleStory, incredibly popular here in Korea. Hi, Peru.
Okay, so it is Mihail.
Let's go with Mihail.
No, Mihail.
No, I'm just skipping it.
No, I'm not.
Just Just ignore the I completely and just skip to the Heil. Because we can agree on that. We agree it starts with M. Therefore, just get rid of it.
Mihail?
And we're fine.
I don't like that. I mean, he is playing Cassante, so I guess it's, you know, phonetically somewhat consistent.
Somewhat. We'll see how it goes. Saytab going to have a difficult time in the early stage of the game. This is a matchup that we used to see a whole lot more than we have recently, unless it's a Showmaker game, in which case you just see it all the time, because Showmaker just loves Kassadin.
Even when he really shouldn't.
Yes, almost especially
it's an addiction.
when he shouldn't.
Yeah,
precisely. I remember a certain game with Showmaker versus Faker with a Kassadin involved that there's a lot of people that want to forget.
That was...
Good times, good times. I think that was a final as well. Yeah.
Oh, that was a timeline.
It was. It definitely was. Anyway, Call Me just going to be trying to get some harassment down here onto Satab. I think that Azir is almost a champion that's more comfortable for him than that of the Syndra that he was looking very comfortable on. A champion that I think a lot of pros could find a bit of difficulty getting used to again, because changing the timing on the Q scatter, that probably frustrated a lot of people for a very long time.
Yeah. Also want to highlight that Satab has not gone for Fleet, which is something Kassadin's often used to go for, both for the extra movement speed and a little bit of additional sustain that it gives. So his early laning phase is actually quite rough. Obviously, will be fine as soon as he can get through his first back. And I do think Conqueror, when it comes to the later stage of the game, obviously going to have a lot of strength in extended fights.
Yep.
Might be having a mid lane play here. Call Me is very, very far up the lane. Do have a little bit of setup here. Sponge making his way over.
Yeah, big zoom out here from Yundo as well as Sounder. Oh, it definitely feels like he's in position here. Decoy could certainly come through as he does just pop on forward. Nimbus Strike going to come out first and then decides to use that for the extra gap close. Really cute stuff.
But Sponge, this is all you need. You don't need to do more. I was about to say Satab. That's something. Trying to go for the back cancel there might end with a kill, might end with your death as well. But this is really all the space you need, I think, as Kassadin in this lane. Because again, obviously post 6, you're completely fine. Now we will have the opportunity to collect that full wave. He's not being threatened, because I do think that Call Me was trying to set up a dive together with Sounder there. So nice read by Sponge. Good after what was a relatively rough game previously. And oh my god, this is a doomed lane state here for Pleta and Piero. Very, very rough. And G was just gonna chill.
Yeah.
Not go anywhere.
Just trims the wave a little bit.
Die. Oh my god.
Okay, so that's an entire wave lost by Pleta and Piero. G was going to look for a little bit of a back timing, so he's going to clear it out now. Looks for a bit of a wave reset, but I think that is still going to be pushing towards them, which is just a great situation here for Nongshim. Not so much to be said for DRX, although just a cull sitting on the Sivir right now as Pleta comes back to lane. Oh, they don't see it.
So really want to highlight what happened here sequentially. So Jiwoo is setting up a shove in bot lane, obviously, as Sivir tries to get it shoved out so he can back. And because Sounder went over the wall, while the vision was still up, it gave a feeling of security to DRX. And obviously now, when I get taken, Satab might even be in trouble here.
He's only level 5! The Force Pulse is going to come through there, but it's a Cat and a Lee Sin. But the rest of the cavalry were on their way. Satab is going to survive this one for the moment. But so far, great start here for Nongshim, despite what the gold might be telling you at the top of your screen. The extra Lake Drake to be picked up here. We do have Earth Dragon. That's exactly what I said.
I love it.
I said Ground Drake, but I think Earth Drake is much better.
It makes me so happy. I love challengers so much.
We definitely need to make sure that we do this, that we change the names of things just very small changes, but it needs to be clear that it is the challenge broadcast. No pun intended. Sorry about the DRX top laner also being clear.
Just gonna let you sit in that one for a bit. As
Happy
overall,
to.
early pickup of the Draker for Nongshim, very nicely done. I think very well played around the vision from DRX. Fortunately, also, as you saw there, Piero going for the, or a little while back, for the Scryer's Orb. The other way around. And now, Call Me might be in trouble, because Satab has his ultimate available.
Yeah, shifts the sands, but the Permafrost is going to come through there, but just Satab not interested. Just going to back away.
Yeah, key thing there is that Sponge can go forward still as a summoners as well, but if Satab goes forward and walks into a Sounder with an ultimate, he will just get blown up very, very rapidly. Even without the ultimate, I think the burst might be enough to take down the Kassadin, of course, notoriously not strong against AD, and even with an ultimate early on, going to be somewhat of a liability. And overall, I think the state of the game for DRX is still fine. I don't think that it's a situation of you have Kassadin, so you just instantly win the late game. Even with the champion being quite strong, just because there is Sivir, Yuumi, and Azir on the other end, right? Like, there is still plenty of playmaking potential. If Jiwoo can stay safe, if they can find an exhaust on the Kassadin, if Colmy can maybe create space, or soon they can find some backline access and threaten so that Setup isn't able to be backed up by the rest of the team, then there should still be a possibility for Nongshim, even in the later stage of the game, to win. Also, note that Claire is clearly a lot more solid as... Ooh.
Yeah, Pleta throwing down the ultimate. They do get the exhaust out. That is going to be pretty important for DRX going towards any sort of battle that could be incoming. You can see that Sounder is looking to grab himself a Rift Herald now that they know that DRX are towards that bottom side as Nongshim slink back towards the safety of their turret, or the relative safety of their turret, considering the fact that they could just be dove. Pleta taking a bit of free damage there, though, which is definitely not what he really wants. And as the wave gets cleared out, Sponge is going to be prioritizing the Krugs instead, as Jiwoo is just going to face check this one. Sponge just here by himself. He's against a Cat and a Sivir, as now Piero is looking to try and get around, and DRX are going to be able to come through. They managed to get the steal away of the camp, and also should be able to loot some plates from this turret as well, as here we go. DRX nicely done. Jiwoo just going to follow the wave in, though, so 2 plates going to come through, no more to come out there, and in trade for the Rift Herald, you're pretty happy about this as Nongshim, I could imagine.
Yeah, I don't think you mind really that much. If you can ever get a dive off, although it is quite hard to dive anyone on DRX, except if you rotate people to bot lane, you can, even by just bullying someone off, get a first turret bot for yourself. I think Rod of Ages is very good. I don't know if I agree with Azir going Rod of Ages, but it looks like that's the direction that we're going in here.
I think Call Me just goes Rod of Ages. Because I don't even think Rod of Ages is that good on Syndra.
No.
So I think Call Me just likes it. You know, just like... And I respect that, you know? You just pick your favorite item and you build it. You know?
On anything.
On anything. And Setup definitely should be building it, so that makes a lot of sense.
Well, in the East Kassadin, yeah. It's like him and Ryze are basically the poster boys.
Yeah. And Anivia.
Anivia as well.
Oh, wait. Or is Anivia's item the Warmogs?
No, I like it. I think it's fine. I think Anivia, and in a very, very distant past, if you wanted to get really cheeky with it, I think on like Maokai or Cho, you know, there was an era where you could build Rod of Ages on tanks.
Cho'Gath, what a time to be alive.
You remember, right?
Oh,
I'm not
absolutely.
making that up. There you go. But I do think it's Ryze Kassadin most notably, who
not
shockingly...
Malphite's Deathfire Grass Brush, that's all you build.
Shockingly are both relevant in the meta right
Singed! Now. Singed! The other roller guy. But yeah, no, I think
I forgot about Singed.
Yeah, Kassadin definitely is the poster boy.
No, he can't do that.
What?
I was thinking about Lance going Rod of Ages Singed support.
That sounds like the worst idea. As Call Me going to avoid the Winter's Wrath quite nicely. Also manages to convince his opponents to avoid the Emperor's Divide.
Sponge was in his head.
Yeah, very nicely done. Still managed to get the Rift Herald down here as Setab's going to be dashing forward, still taking a fair bit of Sand Soldier damage, as this charge is going to give money over purely to Sounder, which Call Me is not exactly excited about. That is just fine. DRX moving back towards this bottom side as Jiwoo is just farming up these minions. Very even in farm across the lanes, to be perfectly honest, outside of Sounder having a couple of a camp lead. And Setup taking a bit of damage here in this mid lane, but otherwise, as you can see, ahead by 10 CS himself. And as the Kassadin, you're definitely feeling fantastic about that.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what's happening in my Challenger games. This is very low impact gameplay.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of kills. I have been touting Challengers for the entirety of last year as this wacky, fun, anything can happen league with a lot of action that totally is way faster than the LCK.
Hey, if anything can happen, then also no action can happen, Chronicler. Okay?
Well, maybe a lot of things could happen, but not no action.
Okay.
That never happened.
Okay, things need to happen.
Anything, really.
Okay, Setab going to be doing a bit of damage there to Call Me. Not too much of a worry here, as you might get your wish fulfilled, Chronicler. There's potentially some action could come through here. The Drake is going to go down relatively low. Earth Drake surviving for now, and also getting in amongst the battle, as we can see. Sounder wanting to just lock this one down as he can, as there is the ulti to come through. Drake secured there by Sponge, as it is going to be the Playful Trickster, soaking up a lot of that CC. Chemtech Drake is going to come through. We're going to be blasting over walls, but before that, it's going to be a team fight. The Sivir taken down first, and Setab getting a 12.5-minute first blood on his Kassadin.
And Piero went for Flash Self Wildgrove there. I want to see a replay of that fight.
That's the barrel play.
That's, yeah, oh yeah, he went for it. And first blood for Cassin, amazing. We got Poison Drake, or Toxic?
Sorry,
Toxic?
Poison Drake, yeah.
Toxic
I got
Drake?
caught up in the moment.
I like Toxic.
Toxic Drake's kind of good.
You know,
Is it
I'm
going
a-
to be
I'm
doing
a-
ramping poison damage or just regular poison damage?
I was thinking more because we already have called me. Maybe we do Toxic, like the
Oh,
great the
Britney
classic.
Spears song?
Yeah. The classic.
I'm into it. Toxic Drake, going to be counting down 4 minutes until that one does come through for our first. Let's check out the replay of this battle.
Again, want to highlight, we have posturing coming through here. Or rather, this is after the posturing, as it looks kind of rough with Sounda being able to catch, but look at this. That's actually the play that sets up the fight, right? Because as a result, immediately Jiwoo gets taken down, and without the Sivir, the composition for Nongshim just doesn't really have the roll damage to be able to chew through DRX this early on in the game. As a result, DRX picked themselves up an early Earth Dragon, able to get a little bit more resistances, get a kill on their best scaling champion, and looking a lot more comfortable. But let's not forget, this was the case last game as well. This is how it started off. The game is still dead even, and even though they're in a good spot, not trusting anything until we see a little bit more, but I do think DRX as a whole look a little bit more well coordinated, which is quite nice. And now we get, so the fruit speeds you up, gives you a shield as well. Oh, call me, might be in trouble.
One more hit, there's the permafrost. They get the stun down as Satab, not wanting to go underneath the turret.
He's just standing there.
He's going to hold off.
Menacingly.
Force Pulse also not going to quite find the mark there either. So it's just Call Me taking about half of his health bar and damage. Absolutely fine. Sponge going to wander up here towards the top side of the map. Have another Rift Herald spawning in a couple of seconds. There it is.
Rift Herald is going to be used here, or we're going to be taking it rather, but you get first turret blood. So I think you're perfectly happy here, as long as DRX doesn't take an ill-advised aggressive play. Going to come out ahead in the trade, and I think the call from Nongshim was we're not going to be able to save it anyway. So instead, going to give over a small gold lead now to DRX, who will be feeling very, very comfy.
Yeah, but so far, no real glaring advantages or anything like that. What I'm looking forward to is seeing whether DRX can actually win themselves another one of these team fights as the game goes on, because early game, skirmishes, things like that, DRX in the last game looked kind of okay, but after that, when Nongshim had some time to set up, things were much better. This looks like a very dead Call Me. Emperor's Divide is going to get a lot of value and shifts the sands, and he's absolutely fine. Yeah, did I say he invested an ultimate, that's it, and he gets out scot-free. Azir.
Easy peasy. No problem at all. And overall, I think that pace of the game, a little glacial, but outside of that, we'll be seeing the mid lane turret knockdown. There is a very big turret to take away. Provides a lot more opportunity for Nongshim to set up aggressive plays like this.
Yeah, Mihail looking for that back line. Exactly. This K'Sante has been not exactly up to too much throughout this game so far, but has been just farming alongside clear just fine. Call Me towards that bottom side, clearing out minion waves also where he can. But the 1-3-1 for this DRX comp, if they want to do it, is actually very, very scary as well. Especially with Clear going towards a little bit more of that damage focus so far in the build, at least.
I do actually think that the best angle for them is, even with how much power they have, I think going for at least 1-4.
Yeah.
Putting Satab in the side lane. Because when you look at the 5v5 of Nongshim, it's nuts. Right, there's Sivir Yuumi alone could warrant a teamfight comp, but you have Azir and Wukong with that as well. The amount of like AoE CC that you have available is mind-blowing. And outside of like a really good Gnar ultimate, the CC from DRX is mostly single target. Very strong single target, mind you, because of course Sejuani lockdown, possibility for Piero to go in and Sponge.
Yep, Sounder's going to spot him here. Oh, that was very cute timing. Over the wall once again is Sounder, as Piero is going to show himself. Bleder can move on forward. Final chapter to come through. Yeah, just landing on the Sejuani. Not too much more that we can get there, as now Nongshim going to take this as a pseudo opportunity to go for a Drake. Of course, full vision available, as in goes Sponge, finds the ultimate there quite nicely. Winter's Wrath does a fair bit of work as Call Me gets himself out, but not going to be quite so lucky on Sounder's side of things, as now You and Me is going to at least get the cat out. But still, that is a very dead monkey, and that means DRX will be able to grab that Drake advantage. Now just wanting to hold them back. Yeah, Nongshim wanting a little bit more. 4 versus 5 as they dive on forward. Fair bit of damage on to the Kassadin, and even though he's so slippery, just gets chain CC'd. Will just get taken down here as K'Sante doing a fair bit of work, gets polymorph, but it's not going to stop him. He's still just walking forward. Nah, finds absolutely nothing, and the Sand Soldiers are tearing them up. Call Me locks down that kill. Jiwoo doing so much damage in this fight as well, as Sponge will eventually fall after Piero was taken down also. Nongshim pulling it back once again.
I'm calling it Atlas. Nongshim's winning 2023 Spring Challengers. What was that?
That was K'Sante playing slalom down the river with skill shots. He was just wandering out of the way, and then just, oh man.
The call as well. For them, I'm shocked. I think Call Me might be dead. There's a flash available.
I feel like Kassadin should have the sticking power if he wanted it.
Yeah, but Sounda's there as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so Setup dying there, that's peak challengers. Sounda dying there for no reason, peak challengers. But I do really want to highlight the follow-up call, because that is something that I think actually really, I want to speak highly of Nongshim for that, because what happens here is a lot of ultimates get used, right? We see, I think Wildgrove used, I can't see Lulu for some reason, she's not on the, but I'm pretty sure
has been eliminated.
Yeah, we see Cleo not having Maganar just yet, so as a result, due to all these ultimates being down and Setup going down there immediately, this call from Nongshim is very, very confident. They don't need to go for this. They can just back off here and try to maybe shove it mid, get a turret there.
And it was the buffer of the W from Mihail that caused the Gnar to do absolutely nothing.
Combined with a really nice flash from Jiwoo, right? So, like, very nicely played out teamfight from Nongshim. That was with a Wukong doing effectively no damage in a team fight. It wasn't 0 because he got an ulti off earlier, but it was without the rest of his team being there. And Sponge, you are the one. You are not trapping anyone, man. You are trapped.
But he went really, really far with that blast gun, and so he got basically back to his base.
Love the new blast gun.
It's very good. It's very funny, and it's definitely way better than the old Poison Rift.
I love.
Look at that, man! Clears the Baron. So good.
That call from Nongshim used to be like, we're gonna fight them there.
Yeah.
We're down a member. Oh, we don't care. Oh, call me. Oh,
well,
we're back to challengers.
Catches in.
It's happening.
There's the flash to immediately come out, but now you've got the ultimate moving forward. Another knock-up with the next Cyclone is beautiful here from Sounder, who is just getting more and more impressive throughout this game. Another Emperor's Divide hits onto a couple. It's a 1-for-1 so far, but you'll take the trade if you're Nongshim, because them having no Zeri is big news. And now Jiwoo just presses the donkey whistle, and it should be enough to at least get themselves some bacon. They pick up the piggy, the Kassadin goes down as well, and Nongshim, this team's just looking better, man. They're just looking better.
I don't know, man. I'm shocked. I don't know what's happening. I don't know how Nongshim, with a completely new roster, is just dunking on DRX.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is actually something that Papa Smithy told me a long time ago, and that is that if you're in a team and things are lacking coordination and things like that, you just bring Sivir. Because you just do the warrior yell, and they all know that you run in.
Sivir wasn't even there for, like,
no, but then she did the yell at the end, and that's all for, it's for morale, you know? You pick it for the morale.
Well, I think they definitely could use the enthusiasm that Jiwoo brought, but they already won the fight before that, right? It's just DRX. Look, they're trying to set up a play on a notoriously slippery target, and Sounda and the Yumi are just able to, like, immediately take down Mihail this time, able to actually join the fight, and you see what a difference it makes. The trade Wukong for Zeri, you'll take any time, any day of the week, because there's no teleport available. Nongshim know we can go as hard as we want here, no problem whatsoever. And are able to get multiple kills here. Mihail looking incredibly impressive. To me, most impressive player thus far. Even with how clean Jiwoo played, he has made so many key catches.
Yeah.
And just has been really, I think, if you given the draft resources of a B1, right? Like, priority pick, you get the K'Sante, then you need to make it work. And, you know, you might look at the CS scores and go, but it's Challenger. CS doesn't matter. right?
It's
like
true.
it's irrelevant. It's not.
But also, he's
No.
100% kill contribution at 22.5 minutes on a top laner, which I think is pretty nutty. So Miles sort of just been everywhere his team needs him to be. It's beautiful stuff.
I am very positively surprised by Nongshim. I again want to give this team a shout out. My expectations were very low, as Kenley's definitely dead.
Well, we've said that before.
Oh,
He gets
come
over the wall,
on.
Emperor's Divide, just in case. Blast cones
Wow.
himself to Narnia.
You know what keeps him alive there?
What?
It's that Rod of Ages. It's the extra health.
I thought you were going to say
It's the Rod of
Sponge
Ages.
not managing to catch him out of the air with an Arctic Assault or something like that, you know? I do feel like he should have died at least one of those times.
He should.
I haven't seen an Azir be quite this immortal for quite a while. As
It's
Mahal
Rod of
looks
Ages.
for it, doesn't manage to get the flick back. But yeah, it's the Rod of Ages, it must be. He's actually got a lot of sticks. It's like the double stick type build. Also double sticks for
one
Saytab.
rod, one staff, a book. It's actually
And a
pretty,
necklace, yeah,
it's
and a
actually
ring.
pretty fashionable.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of works.
Yeah, it's like
Especially for
it's the,
Azir.
it's the
It's
double.
thematically appropriate.
No, I kind of like it. He can also, like Azir could go mountain climbing if you wanted to as well, because you know how like you get the two little sticks? The mountain climbing sticks kind of look like ski poles. You just use the Rod of Ages for one and the Void
Wait,
Star
you
for
mean-
the other.
You mean the walking sticks?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I thought you meant like actual mountain climbing, not hiking.
No, hiking. More like hiking. But you can climb,
Okay, well,
hike up a mountain
Well,
if you
for
want to.
mountain climbing, it's a completely different set of gear. I had no idea what you were talking about.
Oh, that's absolutely true. No, I'm really
Yeah,
sorry.
because
I should have been more specific.
Yeah, okay, but
Yeah. But I think
we're on
for
the same
like,
page now.
yeah,
We're
for
on the same
hiking,
page.
for
That's
hiking,
fine.
I
For
think
hiking,
that Komi's got
absolutely.
great items.
He
Great
does,
items
yeah.
for hiking. Because I also think that you should be wearing your Sunday best when you go for a hike. So, you know, get on your nice ring and has his talisman now.
Live in Korea.
No,
if
precisely.
if you've ever been hiking in Korea, everyone looks amazing.
No, exactly.
High-tech gear.
And I live right next to a mountain here in Korea, and I see the hikers
Amazing.
walk past. And it is a bit like a fashion show sometimes, you know, because there's a lot of fancy gear.
Oh, it's impeccable. There's
Yeah.
nothing that quite kills your self-confidence when you're not feeling too great. You go for a leisurely hike, and like 3 Ajumas walk past you in like rapid pace,
Yeah.
decked out.
And also
top
like
to
wearing
bottom.
like beautifully coordinated and
it's
also
amazing.
like thematically accurate for hiking as
Yeah.
well. So it's not like they look
I
ridiculous.
don't know how they do it.
It's pretty impressive. And Ajuma, by the way, is an older woman, middle-aged woman,
Yeah.
I guess, here in Korea
Yeah.
would be how you would say it.
I mean, I've seen people that really get up there in age still just blast past.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think, I'm a semi-enthusiastic hiker. I definitely will call myself a mild hobbyist when it comes to hiking.
I've just been on a bit of a camping holiday, so I did 2 hikes a day for a week. So I'm ready. I'm ready to compete
Nice.
with the Arjumas. Anyway, we're having a look at this top inner turret being sieged. The reason we're talking about hiking and items of an Azir looking weird is because not a whole lot of action has happened. It's Nongshim just doing their best to strangle DRX out of this game. 2.5 minutes on the Drake, 1.5 on the Baron, as Mihail there towards the bottom side is continuing to get a bit of work done.
There is one thing that can bring this game back from the brink for DRX, and it's not Toxic Dragon. It's level 16. Has been hit by Saytab, has hit his 2-item spike. I think once the Void Staff is going to be available, he will truly be a force to be reckoned with, but I think there's too many threats. You now reached a point where Saytab at this stage, I think, is the only one that can reliably burst someone down, and
Yeah.
because of how far ahead of the curve the rest of Nongshim is, I don't really know if you're going to be able to, unless again you find some single target CC on Jibu, which should be very hard. Siva, of course, very safe in that regard, or Call Me, blow them up immediately. If you want to have a chance at winning any team fight, the amount of consistent damage that Azir, Sivir in particular, puts out is really tough. And you need to be very decisive. Oh no, Sponge.
Yeah, Winter's Wrath not going to really going to save him from that one. There's the snare to come on
What do you
through,
do?
and Sound is going to be able to pick up that kill. And yeah, Sponge finds himself in the middle of no man's land.
Yeah.
It's just
And
not
he's
really Sponge's day today, as it turns out.
No.
It looked like it was beginning to not be Sounder's day, and now it's really the opposite. It's true.
He's
Saytab
kind of
going to
been
get
there
it.
this game.
Yeah.
He's been all right.
I mean, Saytab has hit the tripod power spike.
I need to build up resistance to this again. It's been a while. It's been. I'm gonna need some time. Setup is definitely doing a good job split pushing. I feared the game might end, unfortunately, while he is off on his own, because he can't really add that much. I do think that like 5v5 is a very tough call here, or as a DRX rather. Like I don't think you can, but now the opponent has Baron buff, so you also can't really split push, and I think your only really winning side lane is Setup. And look at itemization as well. Like you have a 9 stacks Magi's and a Banshee's Veil, right? Like
and Mihail, like I think that he could just stand in a lane against Setup and not care at all.
No, he doesn't care at all. And I do want to give a little bit of credit to Sponge as well. I mean, I don't think he's had a good game by any means. But the problem in both these games is DRX has lost control of the map. Yeah. And then Sponge is the one that has to go in. Because you can't have Lulu do that as all. Hail Mary fight here.
Yeah, Mihail is going to find that teleport as he dives on forward. The entire fight is torn apart. Nah, can't even hit Mega. Piggy's also going to fall down, and now it's just going to take, they're just going to take a Drake and then continue the battle. Setup now trying to pop off some low health bars as he dives forward. There's a really nice Zhonya's as the double kill comes forward. Setup, he's going to have to do it by himself, but instead he just takes a journey to the death chamber, and now Pleta is well and truly dead. Piero's going to try to flash. That is a very fast Sivir and a Wukong that was just on the way to pick him up. That's the ace, and that should be the 2-0 here for Nongshim.
I am baffled, Atlas, but in a positive sense, Nongshim, a team that through a miracle won against Damwon Kia in the 2022 summer playoffs. Completely revamped. Only Jiwoo sticked around. Everyone else from the team, Vital came back, all called up to the LCK, and they come in and really, really dunk on DRX here. The early game in both games, the first 10-15 minutes, definitely something that I think could have gone either way, but as soon as that mid-game kicked in, just way better.
Yeah, it was incredibly impressive stuff here from Nongshim. That's a team that that I was expecting to not be that good at all, to be perfectly honest.
No. I mean, they could have been bad and it would have been completely fine.
Yeah, and the reason why our brains stalled for a second there is because we, of course, needed to do our POG votes, and I think that I think you guys probably would agree that it was time for Mihail to get a little bit of love. Mihail. Sorry. No, we're not. Yeah. Mihail. There we go. Because I think that his Cassante play throughout the entire series was absolutely fantastic, especially considering the fact that Clear has been a real power point for DRX in the past. Being able to get that solo kill in game number 1 and then backing it up with a great performance here in game number 2 as well. Thought that was fantastic. I think there's a few votes to be thrown around though, to be perfectly honest. Once again, 2 in a row for Sounder. Really fantastic game for him. Did get caught out a couple of times, but often it resulted in a positive trade for Nongshim, either side of the coin. So, man, 2-0 for Nongshim. And I was expecting a 2-0 on the DRX side.
Yeah. And obviously, Damage not going to tell the full story of this game. Call me, though, incredible debut. Like I am so impressed with this player. Twice in a row, or 2 games in a row, rather, able to have incredible amounts of damage output. Obviously, got the MVP. Wouldn't even mind if he got MVP in this game as well. I don't think... we both went for Mihail, as mentioned, but...
His escapes
could still
it might actually be the Azir vote just for the amount of call me escapes that came through.
For real. I personally don't mind, but I think that that top half of the map in particular, Sounder this game, a little more muted than the previous one. He was mostly just bait, and he was mostly go in, die, and try to do as much damage, try to wreak as much havoc, giving space to your Yuumi and to your Azir and to your Sivir to pop off. And worked out perfectly. DRX, both in terms of draft and I think particularly in game 2 in terms of gameplay, looking rough, looking kind of lost. Sponge, game 1, I do think he was clearly, together with Piero, the weaker link. In game 2, Piero had a little bit of a better time, and I think Sponge still looked bad, but it was very much a team thing. I think DRX, what really impressed me about this team and was the reason why I was such a big fan of them in spring in 2022 was because they were playing good League of Legends. Like it wasn't anything flashy. It wasn't like the crazy shenanigans we saw on Challengers, but it was a team that consistently was able to showcase good, rock solid League of Legends. And today they were slammed in the face by this man right here.
They definitely were. And I think giving it to Mihail, for me, feels really good purely because he helped win the team fight that really did win the game for Nongshim, right?
Yeah.
That one in the river where he was just in that front line, in the right position. And for a top laner to be at 100% kill contribution for the majority of the game as well really shows that he was able to get out of his lane, really affect the map. And both games, Clear really couldn't do anything. The Gnar, even less impressive than his Renekton in game 1.
Yeah, and I do think that the Gnar as a pick, not the biggest fan necessarily, but it was also other team playing really well around it. And yeah, later in the game, he was just pushing side lanes because what else was he going to do?
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Not that much. Shocking start of the day here. A really, really great debut from Nongshim. Colmy and Mihail both, I think, going to be high on the list of players to watch and see how they develop over the course of the season.
I'm looking forward to seeing how they continue to develop as well with their team play also, because if they're performing this well so far against a team that is a lot more established, that's a really good sign moving forward, because this is a team that's only very, very new and only just together, and with sort of Jiwoo as that backline. So very, well, in both senses of the term. I've been accidental punning a lot today, and I want to apologize from the bottom of my heart to everyone.
No, you don't. You'll love it.
But yeah, I think that they're a team to look out for. I think that the worry that I have on DRX's side is it's very similar to what we saw for Damwon Kia last year, of course, now D+ Kia, but without Beryl, it looked like a team that didn't understand how to make the plays happen correctly. And now it's almost like they want to call down Beryl for their challenger team to try and patch it together, because it feels like there just isn't that voice. I don't think they should either. Yeah, that would be a bad move. But you know what I mean?
It's
like
tough. No, I agree. Overall, I do think that we did really see some of the unfortunate parts of the current meta, which was most notably Sivir, Zeri, Yuumi, Lulu. Not really what you're looking for. Lucian, of course, banned, so Lucian, Nami, either to spice it up a little bit. But still, when we hit mid-game, you know, going back to that classic challenger gameplay, a lot of back and forth. Also, as far as I'm aware, because there is an audience, I was actually, we haven't mentioned this yet, but I was surprised positively by how many people there were in the audience. Looking early on. Actually, a fair amount of seats being filled for challengers. We love that. But I do think after this, we're going to a longer break because of that. Because I saw some questions around this.
So all of the matches start at a specific time, and they are 3 hours apart. So it is going to be a 2 p.m. start, which is where this first series began, and then we're going to have a break until 5 p.m. KST. Unfortunately, not going to be able to translate it into your current time zone if you're not here in Korea, but it is just a Google search away. And then the final series will be at 8 p.m. Yes.
Hour 15.
And just so you guys know, moving forward, Mondays will be 3 best-of-5s, and Tuesdays will be 2 best-of-5s. So wish us luck.
Yeah. Because I got to say, though, as far as gameplay go, Challengers is nice, because you can take it a little bit easier. You know, with the LCK, we have to be very serious. Very,
we really do. Absolutely.
Always treat it like, you know, with the reverence and the respect that it deserves. We at the LCK in particular are notorious for this.
Yeah. No, it is. It's all business. It is all business.
That's what the broadcast is known for.
I know. I remember you tried to get jungle music that one time, and you were actually aggressively backhanded out of the room.
Yeah. No, Jason told me no.
Yeah. 100%.
How dare you suggest that? Yeah. Definitely didn't watch the Zig walk to bongo music for a minute as a segment.
It was almost too long. If you want to see some of the highlights from that, the Pug State from last year.
That was the point, Atlas.
No, I know. I was agreeing.
I love challengers.
But I'm also very much enjoying getting into our next series as well, because that's the one that I definitely have absolutely no ability to call. And so I assume it's going to be a 2-0 in one direction or another.
Who knows?
But we just have no idea, is kind of how things go. Especially with the beginning of Challenger, right? Because so many of the good players, like Bulldog, for example, moving up to Kwandong, I think Pays as well is the biggest one that we know of, and, as well as, Photon moving over, and there's a lot of players that are now not here. Noah as well. Dang it, KT, get it together, team. Seriously.
I'm thinking about all the challenger players that, just went to a different region and we might not see him again. And sometimes it ends very well. I personally think Photon going to do splendidly.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't do it doesn't do so well. Ophelia, for example, I think went to the LLA, didn't go very well.
Yeah, no. Sometimes it doesn't really work out, but sometimes also players leave a little bit too early. I think maybe it was a bit early for Ophelia to have left the country.
It's such a couple of great highlight moments.
Yeah. I think that given enough time, probably is still going to be able to do some good work. We'll see how they go. I believe we're waiting for an interview here before we get towards our next one, or we're going to be skipping it because we don't have any way of translating it. Not entirely sure, but we're going to be here on the broadcast with you until we have some sort of an idea as to what's going on.
Yeah, it's new for us as well.
Yeah.
Back in the day, when challengers, as soon as the game was over, you would throw to a break, put up some copy pastas, and go and eat some soup.
Wait, you go to a break and eat some soup? I'm pretty sure you just change it to a mukbang stream.
No, because I know some people didn't like the sound of like.
Or some people do it on purpose.
I know, but I don't want to put everyone in that position.
That's true. They do have the ability to mute if they don't like what they can hear, though.
Well, yeah, but then they can't hear me talk.
True.
I mean, I couldn't talk because I'm eating soup. But in between, I'm saying very insightful stuff.
You absolutely are. And he's going to say more insightful stuff after the break as we get into our next series, and we'll see you there.